Well, it starts slow. You're coming in too hot there.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And then it goes super like it's like yo.
Just over the top. You're like, oh shit. Hello and welcome to the Nissan podcast. Today is episode 26, hosted by yours truly, Xell and Crim, and of course with me is Crim, the Asian Avenger. How's it going, Crim?
It goes well. It goes great. It goes just dandy. And we've got a lot of news this week. So, and more importantly, one of the things that we were pretty hyped on or very intrigued by, so had finally released, and we're going to talk about it this week. So,
yes.
we were really hyped on in the earlier episodes about Star Wars Vision. So this is like we're kind of like our first reactions to it. So
yeah.
But before we
it
do
literally
that,
came out 2 days ago before we filmed this. So
I've
it's
watched
very
it
fresh.
twice through already. So, but yeah, before we get into that, I think we have some actually quick tidbits of news actually that is pretty dope.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a couple of things here. Some returning series. I think this is just funny. I just wanted to poke some fun at Crim here. But the Duke of Death and His Maid is getting a second season, Crim. Are you really excited for that boba that you're going to owe me?
Okay, hold on. So I guess I got to think about how I worded that bet, because it's like that it would be a success or that I would like it. Because apparently
Someone check the tape.
it is successful enough to get a second season. Maybe I just turned it off too soon. Maybe I need to keep watching past episode 4 or so.
Is this a double or nothing?
I'm not doubling down. I don't want to watch it. But the thing here is I must have missed something. I don't know how it got so, like, it's got, like, some buzz around it. People enjoy it. And apparently it's charming to some. And I'm like, okay, I must have missed something because I didn't see it.
I mean, honestly, I think, like, the show is just dirt cheap to make because of CG. Like, that's one of the big benefits for having a primarily CG show, is that it is very easy to reuse assets and reanimate with those things. So I could imagine that it was just originally a two season deal, and, like, maybe it was like that. But also maybe it's actually really good, because I remember seeing the discussion threads on it, and people are like, oh yeah, I really like it. But then again, you know, if you didn't like it, you're probably already gone. So
maybe I gotta get, like, what, before the end of the season, I just gotta watch like 7 episodes. Got it. All right.
But yeah, so the Duke of Death and His Maid. Iruma season 3 was also announced recently. I know Crim's excited about that.
I love that announcement. So for all my Iruma listeners and watchers, we got another one. We snagged another season. So hell yeah.
Another piece of news that I was really particularly excited about was that Spirited Away is coming back to theaters for its 20th anniversary. One, I did not realize it's been 20 years since the release of Spirited Away. One of my favorite Studio Ghibli movies. I think one of just generally one of the most popular Studio Ghibli movies of all time as well.
I think it's the first one I watched, actually. So I think that one sticks with me too. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that one. So if possible, I'd like to see it in theaters, because it's just different.
Is it getting remastered?
Theaters just hit diff. I actually don't know if it's actually being remastered or whatnot.
Does it need to be remastered?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. Like 20 years ago, did HD exist? I don't know. How long ago did HD get invented? But anyways, yeah. So we'll see. I'm excited about that. But another movie thing that got announced too is with the end of Slime season, they announced a Slime movie and released a key visual for it. I don't think there's actually any info if this is going to be a canon movie or whatnot, but you remember there was a few episodes ago, we talked about the sort of trend of canon movies coming from anime, and it seems to be just picking up, man. It's really not just a Slime movie, because I think I saw the
Villainous?
There was an earthquake.
Huh?
There was an earthquake. Sorry. I'm back. Okay, no, I'm back. But the Villainous, maybe it was just really the house I'm in just shook. But yeah, so anyways, some other series also got some announcements as well. And so again, this trend, there's no stopping it. The hype train for Mugen Train is continuing, and I think everybody else, they're getting on it, man.
I think do we not nail it on the head then, right then and there?
Yeah.
Like
Nissan podcast never misses.
Yeah, never, ever. I mean, Death the Duke, whatever Dookie is like getting a season 2, so it was a hit, right? Maybe you owe me Boba, but okay, whatever. That's another stuff.
I did.
But yeah, like this is what I was concerned about. Like this is exactly what I was afraid of. Is everything just going to make a movie now to give you the conclusion, right? Like, it's a lot like how we saw Harry Potter split its end into 2 movies, right? And then Hollywood followed suit and did the same thing. Even the Fast and Furious, the last movie is being split into 2 movies.
Yeah.
So, like, everything is looks like it's going to be following that trend then right now, right? Like Slime, we're getting a Jujutsu Kaisen movie. We're getting anime movies, and I think Mugen Train is kind of the catalyst.
Yeah, I hope this is not going to become the era of like mediocre movie adaptations for anime, but it definitely could end up being that way.
Maybe not right away, but eventually it just kind of naturally gets watered down as things are just like, whatever, just may put in a movie, right? Like,
yeah.
And I think that's going to be a problem if it gets there. But right now, maybe like they'll still be good. Maybe these movies that are coming out are going to still be solid. So, but
we shall see. We shall see. Yeah. And then on a completely different sort of announcement,
something that deserves a movie, by the way.
Yeah, obviously one of the most beloved franchises of all time, and of course we're talking about Super Mario Brothers animated film movie heading to theaters in 2022.
Yeah,
and not only is it just a Mario movie, it's announced by some pretty heavy hitters.
This cast is stacked, by the way.
Yeah. Like starting off, just to fire it off, like Chris Pratt as Mario, I guess.
Yeah.
And Charlie Day as Luigi. It's so okay,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Keep going. The list just gets
Jack Black as Bowser. We got Anna Taylor-Joy as Peach. We have Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. I mean, this cast is just like, what happened here? What is this Mario movie even going to be about?
Mario Madness, I don't even know, but like it's got a stacked cast. And you're not even done. There's still more.
Yeah, there's so much more. Like Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong, Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek, Sebastian Maniscalco as Spike, and apparently there's going to be surprise cameos from Charles Martinet. So like it's just like, okay, yeah, we're just going to throw a ton of people at this movie and we'll see how it does.
I just want to, we won't dwell on this too much, but I will say that it is an animated movie, right?
Yeah.
So with that, I feel like, don't get me wrong, I love Charlie Day. I feel like it is a disservice to not have John Leguizamo come back and voice Luigi. If you know what I'm talking about, you're old, and like officially old because you know what I'm talking about. There was an old Super Mario Bros. Movie that came out, I think, in the 80s. I don't know, whatever. A lot of the stuff, the creature, like the character designs were stuff of nightmares, like, Yoshi and all that. But I think the best thing to come from that was the casting of Luigi. And I'm kind of sad they didn't bring him back for this. I wish that's the only complaint I have. It's an animated movie. There's no reason for you not to bring him back.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing is I think in general it's been a thing where they take voice actors and they just give those roles to big names because that's that's part of the marketing, is getting big recognizable names into the cast. So yeah, it's unfortunate for the old Luigi.
LeBron James is voice acted recently too, so not in Space Jam. Like he was in whatever the movie with the Yeti. So I saw it. It wasn't bad. But yeah, so yeah, this is actually kind of cool though. We're going to get a Mario movie, and, maybe the special guest there, Charles Martinet, is going to voice Waluigi and Wario because, Waluigi, if you're part of the Waluigi fan club, I know you. I know you. I hear you. I'm with you. We're out here, and we're down bad. We're waiting for that Waluigi anywhere. Anywhere. Just give me more Waluigi.
Yeah, dude, Waluigi, since his inception, has just been like the unwanted stepchild of the Mario cast.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, yeah, dude, I don't know, man. Wario needed a partner in tennis doubles, and that's about it. That's all right. See you later, Waluigi. Don't want you.
And people love him.
Yeah.
People love him because he's a good underdog story. So you know what? I hope it happens.
Yeah.
But
so the Mario movie was announced today for the Nintendo Direct, and I don't think I'm that hyped on it, but it is just like from a
you
top
have a
level
boo
down, it's
in
hilarious.
your background. And I don't mean your waifus. I mean a literal boo.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Mario stuff in general, but I don't know. In my mind, I think of woohoo, yeah. Like
I would watch
Mario.
that for 2.5 hours. I actually, that's the only thing that I need to hear for 2.5 hours, and I'd be okay.
But I think I'm just gonna imagine Chris Pratt on Mario's shoulders saying all the line. I don't know. We'll see. I'm really curious what they end up doing with this. But yeah, how hyped are you about it?
I would say I'm pretty hyped about it because
my
God, baby, I saved that. I held on to that. I didn't say it earlier. But the thing here is, I'm over the moon for this. I am excited. I hope they put the music in there. I hope they put all of it in there. Give me so much fan service that I honestly walk out of there feeling like I just played Mario again. So, I mean, look, they did a good job with the Sonic movie. There's no reason a Mario movie couldn't work.
Yeah.
Wish it were live action.
Live action with Chris Pratt as Mario.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, dude. I would watch. Imagine that, Charlie Day and Chris Pratt next to each other. Like those are just. Actually,
Man,
I feel
the
like
fever dream just continues.
Okay, yeah. I don't know how they get
Jack Black comes in with a giant like Bowser shell thing.
Yeah. You mocap Jack Black and you mocap Seth Rogen, and you got it right there, Donkey Kong. And
okay, well, that aside, let's talk about the meat of today's episode, which is
topic. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
Duel of the Fates just started.
Oh, that one. Okay.
No. Okay, I love the Imperial March, but Duel of the Fates now is the song for Star Wars.
Well,
it starts slow. You're coming in too hot there.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And then it goes super like it's like yo,
just over the top. You're like, oh shit.
I was like, dude, I was not ready for it to go this hard. Okay, sure.
Yeah. That song was quite literally maybe the best thing that came out of the original trilogy. Besides pod racing, I loved pod racing, dude. As a kid, I loved pod racing. So.
Oh yeah, I mean. I think as a kid, I enjoyed episode 1. I didn't think much about anything other than, wow, this looks cool, right? I went to Burger King, I went to KFC, at Taco Bell, because there was this unity where they would give out specific characters related to episode 1. I collected all the memorabilia. I love the prequels, except for episode 2. If you ignore the fact that the first one, and as I watched it again, had way too much politics. I don't know how this was marketed as a kids movie, but the third one, I think I genuinely enjoyed the third one, in the way that it's like, wow, it's hilarious how over the top. It's like I enjoy it the same way I enjoy the Fast and Furious movies. This is so dumb that I love it. It's so dumb that I love it. So episode 2, I actually threw that out of my DVD collection. If you looked at my collection, it's 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's it. There's no 8 or 9 either. So I've omitted those from the collection as well. Man, I wish they followed up episode 7 at some point. But I guess with that in mind, would you say it's safe to say that, like, I remember we had heard the news, right, about like this getting announced, right, a while back, and we were pretty hyped on it because specifically I feel like Star Wars was always an anime anyways. Right, like in theme, in vibes of like the twist, you know what I mean? Like everything about it.
The thing is that this is something that I didn't know until I started reading more up on it. But the original Star Wars series was heavily inspired by Japanese films, and so you can, when you think back on it, it's like, oh. yeah, Jedi are just Ronin samurai warriors, and the Force is like, you know, like chi, or, you know, like you could like kind of tie a lot of the sort of like general ideologies behind the two, and you're like, oh, that's right. I think he was the Kurosawa films were one of the prime like inspirations for Star Wars, and to see it kind of return now back into like anime form, yeah, it's like we get full circle. And that's not to say that all of the episodes really, we'll talk about the individual episodes as we get there, but like just holistically, I think I was just very excited about this. I thought anime and Star Wars definitely makes sense in my mind, like you said. Like Star Wars was basically anime, at its core. At its core,
yeah. Like everything that it does feels anime, right? And so when we got the announcement of this, it just it was, the trailer was a banger. You got to see a little bit of flashes of genius and creativity from every studio, and you knew exactly which studio, especially which one was Trigger, all of that. So like. And they had some of the wildest designs, like umbrella lightsabers. So now the time is here. We get to experience it all. There's 9 episodes. It's up now on Disney+. There's going to be spoilers ahead. So, you know, it's safe to say, I don't know how heavy we'll get into it, but I think there will be at least a light amount of spoilers. So be ready for that. And because let's be honest, we're going to talk about a little bit of each episode along the way. And I think right now, right off the bat, right, we have the first episode. There's 9 episodes total. The first one just it starts off and the art style is already amazing, right? It's called The Duel. And
yes.
Like I don't know what it was about this art. It was the perfect mixture of 3D, everything put together, the shades of gray. It was like oddly black and white, but randomly in color at times. It was like watching an anime Pleasantville. And dude, holy hell, was it a visual beauty. It was like this is one thing. We're just talking about the stylistic side of it, the visuals of it. It is gorgeous, animation wise. And then that's not even getting into then what is the world that it builds, and then the designs. Like first episode right off the bat, The Duel, is where we get to see the big meme, the one we've all been talking about, the umbrella lightsaber.
Yes. So, you know, to talk about this episode, just, you know, again, this was the best episode to start on because, again, like I said before, the original Star Wars was based off Kurosawa films. This one is the Kurosawa film of Star Wars anime. So this one, like above all else, made like the full circle. And this one in tone and the way the animation looks, the coloring of it, because again, like you said, it's very grayscale, but with like hints of really bright colors, and you'll see it beautifully in the lightsaber fights and the you know the rifles and whatnot. And like oh man, this one was amazing. This is definitely one of my favorite ones of the bunch. And yeah, this one has the umbrella lightsaber, which was so cool. It was so cool.
But oh my god, did it not make sense logistically? But like I don't know how that design worked at all. Like especially, you know, as I said, there's gonna be spoilers when she takes the umbrella part off.
Oh yeah. It's got mirrors inside, so the lightsaber splits into the thing. I could see. I don't know. I think
you're an engineer. You're the closest to explaining this to me. How did it work? How did it do that? Like the umbrella whirly helicopter
refracted across a couple surfaces and through the thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I see. We're also kind of stitching things together as we go along. Okay, cool. No. Like that is a sick design, though. I loved everything about that lightsaber. You ignore the minor dumb things. Like, yeah, that's nitpicking how it works. Sure, whatever.
Yeah,
but outside of that, it was cool. The fights were amazing. Even my dog loved it. And like just seeing how they really brought, you know, the Bushido blade style, lots of like, you know, samurai things into the fight scenes was so cool. You even got like, imagine if samurai movies had droids. right? And it's just like, oh my God, it's the perfect blend, dude. And so the studio that made this is the one that did Batman Ninja. What's the name of it though?
Kamikaze Doga. Yeah. They're also well known for doing the JoJo openings, which is also like very, very much like CG mastery out of these guys. These guys are great at it. They
flexed it again, right? So yeah, like what outside, like, was there anything else that stood out to you?
I love the writing and pacing and like the overall just atmosphere of this one.
Okay.
This one, so like the way I thought about a lot of these episodes is like, how anime was it? How Star Wars was it? This was like not actually either, really. This was on the third, like, again, Kurosawa filmed up to an 11, and it just has that like very old mystique of a samurai, lone samurai warrior comes in and has to take down the big bad guys. And I love the twist too, where it was like, you know, as a Star Wars fan, you're like, oh, a guy's defending from the Empire. Of course he's a Jedi. And then he pulls out his blade and it's a fucking Sith lightsaber. And you're like, wait, what? What a twist. And it was just so beautiful.
Of the crystals.
Yeah. And so he's like a Sith, like, he's a Sith Lord, like, hunter.
Jedi. Like he's a Sith hunter. I think they're called like Dark Jedis. I don't know. People that read more of the extended universe than I did will probably be able to tell us. But yeah, I think they're like, that was just awesome seeing a Sith hunter.
Yeah, and I think that was just such a great sort of twist in there and gave, again, this sort of really dark, sinister sort of vibe to it all. And man, I loved it. I also thought the female character, the one from the Empire, her design was just super cool.
Yeah, and when she pulls back her like headpiece, right?
Yeah,
her hair comes out and she's like, yo,
she's just so badass. She's just so sick. And, yeah.
Do you know what that's not even the end of it. For those that don't know, not only is the animation great, not only is the story cool, the voice acting cast for this show is off the charts. Whether the names that are attached to it from English voice actors, I mean, I watched it both in English and Japanese. I liked the Japanese more. It flowed a little bit better. But regardless of that, the bandit leader was Lucy Liu in English. It's Lucy. What? And then there's Akeno Watanabe, and they voiced Robin from Witch Hunter Robin. You remember that? I talked about that show from when and dude, like she was Hallie Lindner in like Death Note. There's so many characters that like this voice acting cast was absurd. Absurd.
Yo, that Disney money hits good. And they when you look at the English voice actors in particular, I feel like, man, they brought out some big A-listers for the voice acting in some of these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Lucy Liu was in this episode. It's like,
I didn't even know. I was like, well, the what? Really? Okay. That's cool. And that's like that, just that episode, right? Like we'll kind of like rapid fire, kind of lightly touch on each episode here. Yeah. But yeah, like overall, that was a pretty good episode. Anything else before we move on to the next one?
That one's S tier. This was one of my favorites, so I just want to put that out there. You want to rank them? This one is like near the top for me.
We'll do it. Okay, we can either do it at the end. You know, we'll just do it as we go by. You give it S. Okay. I give it. I would say a solid. I would say A or S. That's for sure.
Okay.
Like very good. And you know, like I think no matter what, the only reason why most of these won't get an S is because I felt like I just wanted more.
That's going to be, I want to talk about it when we wrap up.
Yeah, we'll wrap about that at the end, but yeah.
I totally agree. But yeah, let's talk about the second episode.
Okay.
Tatooine Rhapsody. This one was a very interesting episode where we see it starts off with a kid who sort of like gets accosted by what seemingly is the Empire, like a Jedi kid, and he falls into like a musician's truck essentially.
Yeah.
And they start a band, and they're like a rebel band, and you find out that the person that he fell into is actually related to Jabba the Hutt. And apparently he's got some kind of grift with him because Boba Fett comes in to collect his debts. And the way it ends is with a Rockstar concert in Tatooine.
That's the most
in front
anime thing ever. I loved it. It was essentially battle of the bands, but for your life, of course. And, but yeah, so like, and by the way, the Hutt that isn't Jabba of the Hutt legacy, I think it was like kind of hinted at, like maybe they're either related in some way, either by like directly, like, you know, that's his dad or something like that, because like, you know, like, hey, the Hutt legacy, I don't care about it, right? But the Hutt that is in the band is the bassist, and so yeah, like I think the first thing here is this is the anime music show, right? Like this is like the homage to like how you've seen like the K-ons and all of that stuff, right? You see like Beck, all of that. This is that. And the music's cool. You got your space rock opera. It was dope. And the art was amazing. Everybody was chibi.
Art was amazing.
It was like half chibi, half not, right? Like, so it was just like perfectly not too chibi, because I was like, oh, is that like a mini Boba Fett? What is that?
Yeah, I was like, is this Lego Boba Fett?
Yeah. Like,
when I first saw him, I was
the
like, oh.
artwork was gas. And on top of that, it was voiced by the actual Boba Fett. Like,
was it? That's awesome.
The English version is the actual Boba Fett. And the one that you saw in The Mandalorian, all that, like, holy hell. And then, okay, so once again, they really went hard with the voice actors, because then we had Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the main character, Jay. I was like, huh? Like, the names are absurd. And then, of course, if you liked me on Space Dandy, you know, then you had the Japanese voice actor, right? So you had the Space Dandy voice acting. You had like so many things like just at play here. And most importantly, the animation was just so cool, as I had mentioned. I cannot stress it enough. It was a perfect blend of anime and like kind of like modern Western cartoon.
I think the art style was super charming, and it was like a really cool take on the Star Wars universe in general. And especially because the band was made up of, you know, we had a Hutt person, I don't know, Hutties, and we had, you know, standard humanoid person with the main character, but we had a droid as one of the guitarists, and then we had that, I don't know what to call the drummer. He had like 3 bodies attached
to like a pair of legs. Like he had 3 upper halves attached to like a pair of legs.
I don't know what to call that, but that was really cool too. So you know, the character designs overall, I was really a fan of. And yeah, I will say, like, in terms of balance, again, if I was to balance out like how much Star Wars, how much anime, this was like very anime, and like there was a bit of Star Wars in there. You know, you had the Hutts, Tatooine, and stuff, but it was anime off the charts. This, however, was probably one of my least favorite of the bunch. I'm so sorry.
I am on the opposite side of that. I think this might be my favorite.
I think this one was like an F tier for me.
Okay, understandable, right? Because you think about the episode ordering, right? You go from the first episode, right? Dark, grim, black and white, right? Into this. And it, you know, a little more cartoony art, way anime in theme. But I think that's why I liked it, because it was like a space anime rock opera. And I can get down with that. This is like, actually, this is not my favorite. I wouldn't say this is S tier, but I would say this is a strong B+ to an A. Mostly just because I think the tonal shifts between the first episode and the second episode, if you watch it all in sequential order, makes it kind of like, whoa, what just happened? And I think that's intentional. I think that's very much so intentional. They put it in that order.
Yeah.
Because they're going to show you the range of what this show is. And they do that. They do a good job. And the music was good. I liked the music. It was good, like, you know, kind of J-rock, J-pop punk, all of it. I love that. So, I think definitely a majority of these episodes, like the names are great to see on the English side of the voice acting, but everything felt way more fluid, as you would expect, from the Japanese side. So the Japanese voice acting for almost all of these, I'd probably say watch it. If you want to go through it a second time like I did to see the English voice actors, do that too. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I'm giving this one a B.
I think my main problem with Tatooine Rhapsody is that rather than it feeling like what Star Wars story can we tell, it definitely felt more like let's take an anime thing and then skin it Star Wars, which is also fine. But I guess I was more because I guess I just wanted to see more of the Star Wars side of things, and I guess there was a tie-in with Jabba the Hutt, but it just it didn't quite hit for me. But I did enjoy the music and the visuals and stuff. So it was a fun ride, I think. And
that's what it was. It was. I think that's what it wanted to be, just fun, right? Nothing because literally, it was about becoming the biggest band. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't matter what setting you put that in. It's just a fun time. But yeah, so I give that a B. You give that an F. Very different.
maybe a D. F is means it's a total failure. I don't think it wasn't the worst thing ever, and I regret my eyes, but it just didn't hit for me. So next episode though, let's talk about it. The Twins. This one is one that I think we were looking forward to because when you watch the trailer of it, these character designs stood out like a sore thumb because they had Trigger just written all the frick over it. I mean, this one was just unadulterated Trigger from the get-go.
Oh, I mean, when I saw the trailer, I just pointed. I was like, that one right there. That one. I know that.
That's Trigger.
That's Trigger right there. I know that one.
And yeah, so this one follows the side of two siblings who came from the Empire, and they're supposed to charge up using a crystal,
a Kyber crystal. For the Star Wars nerds out there, that's your lightsaber crystal.
Yep. And so they're fighting over this power crystal thing, and it's just this one. Again, when I look at that scale of Star Wars anime, this one was both at
it's every knob at 11. Whoa, yeah. What? Wait, hold on. First off, how are they both outside in space?
And then their helmets all break off, and they're just this is fine. And then what's funny about it is at the end of it all too, the droids have helmets, but the people don't. I was like, what?
I thought I was getting trolled. I thought I was maybe getting trolled. I was like, hold on, what's happening here? This must be a busted episode. Because what? How does the droid have a helmet, but the human doesn't?
Yeah.
Okay, but the fight scene was dope though. This is though if you
so sick.
Yeah, it was Sith waifu versus that's the one I addressed that as before. And dude, I don't understand how having the crystal gives you 6 laser saber things, but you know what? I'll go with it, right? Sure, laser tentacles. And the fight was epic though. But as Xell had mentioned, it's everything at 11 to the point where even when he uses, to put it lightly, they use hyperdrive. They've weaponized hyperdrive. Star Wars had some people upset about that from episode 8, the Holden technique, but they did it again. But this time they put it in anime form. Yeah. And I can't say much more than what?
Yeah. This is so ridiculous that it was hard for me to complain about it because again, kind of like this episode 2, it's very much this was just anime skinned into Star Wars form, but the imagination of it all was just so ridiculous. Yes, I'm gonna stand on this TIE fighter, or no, it was an X-wing. We're gonna push it to hyperdrive in space without a helmet. Wear helmet, kids. It takes his lightsaber and he's like, this is my final technique. And then he just goes through it to blast through the Kyber. I mean, that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, and I kind of loved it.
Oh yeah, and you know what's the funny thing? I watched it twice over, so I noticed this the second time around. Not only does he hyperdrive, they weaponize hyperdrive. The brother. Right, the brother of the two sisters. The sister is Am, and then the brother is Kare. Right, and so Kare stands on the X-wing, hyperdrives through perfectly through the huge Star Destroyer. Right, because remember at this point now, this lightsaber should only be about maybe 5 feet, in length. Right, it somehow extends. It is definitely extended to where it's 20 feet now, 30 feet, cuts through the giant Star Destroyer, perfectly only nicks the Kyber crystal. but somehow obliterates the ship behind her too. So I don't understand what happened, but I'm like, give me more of that.
Yeah, this one is like completely dominated by the rule of cool, where like literally just don't think, because the more you think about it, the less it'll make sense, and just be there for the ride. And I actually enjoyed this one because of how stupid it was.
Yeah.
So,
this was the most Fast and Furious. I think,
like, this is Fast and Furious, but for sure.
And then not only that, the voice acting. We've got so the Japanese side, it's Tomaru from Boruto. So if you're a fan of that show, and then it's also Neil Patrick Harris for the English side.
What? Sweet, I guess.
I mean, everybody knows Neil Patrick Harris is a huge Star Wars fan. You know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. All these people are huge fans, right? So it's just funny, and it's like, yo, Disney money popping off right here, dude.
Yo, Disney OP, man.
Yeah, Disney's just doing whatever they want. They like. And then you have like voice, like the sister is voiced by Alison Brie in English, and then Ryoko Shiraishi, who is from Tekken.
She did Goo.
Yeah, she did Goo. Oh my god, dude! There's so many good like voice actors on this thing, and so okay. Without even if we talk about this episode, it doesn't even begin to scratch at the surface of how amazing it was as a visual spectacle. And so you got to watch it. This episode is so hilarious. But what do you rate this?
This one is probably a solid, I would say like a B minus.
B minus?
Maybe a B. It was just so ridiculous that like I'm like I like it for what it is, but I actually don't need any more of it.
It now makes sense why you like Haikyuu more, as it like that's your favorite sports anime, and mine is Kuroko no Basque. Like, I love the Outlandish. A. Yeah. This is a solid A. I loved it.
I'm sort of curious if you gave Trigger more opportunities to do ridiculous things, like what else would come out of the studio's collective mind? Because
they should just be doing everything like at this point. Because I'm like, hold on, I don't know what just happened here, but like, woo! I'm all for it.
I just imagine like all the Trigger producers who work on stuff like this and Kill la Kill and whatever, like all their business meetings are just them snorting enormous amounts of cocaine and just being like, yes, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Great. Yes, that's going to be great. He's going to take a lightsaber and he's going to go hyperdrive through the Star Destroyer.
I love it. Can the lightsaber extend to like the skyline size?
Yes,
let's go.
Yes. You know, that's all their business
meeting
meetings.
Shuts like the laptop and they all run outside, and
and that's how the Twins was made, because
and that's Studio Trigger, everybody. But okay,
which we're gonna come back to because they did another episode and it's very different. So I'm excited to talk about that one later.
But now we go to the next one. This one is called The Village Bride. Now it's Kanema Citrus, I believe, right? Like that's the studio that they did Shield Hero. Ignore the butchering of the pronunciations on my end. They did Shield Hero.
Yes.
And so this one, after seeing everything at the pegs dialed to 12, this one dials it back down, a much more calm, beautiful story about essentially what is like the village, chief pretty much offering herself to the Empire. Right. Mm-hmm. And the locals not being happy about it. They want to fight for it. And this one also and there's a Jedi here, or, a fallen Jedi, an exiled Jedi, named F. That's it, to pay respects. And so that's like the general gist of this whole episode. Right. So eventually, the Empire shows up and they're like, hey, we should fight. You shouldn't give yourself to them. And the chieftain says, you know what, it's fine. I want this. I want everyone to be safe. I want this village to be safe. So this one, when I describe it to you, it may not do it enough justice because that really is what it is about. But the way the characters interact, every scene felt so beautifully, choreographed, directed. The fight when F finally, is like, yo, the mask is off, and also I am like, dude, she is like mega waifu. She is best girl of this whole thing.
She's like a combination of Yoru, Viper, and the blue-haired girl from Darling in the Franxx. Had a three-way children. Yeah, Ichigo. Yeah. They had a three-way kid, and that's who popped out.
And I love and like, oh my god, when she like, I was like, hold on, is she also a Jedi in heels? But not heels, super heels.
Super heels.
Like, which like, she essentially did the thing where like, I don't know if y'all remember the Nikes, the shoes that pumped air into the sole.
Yeah.
She essentially did what is that, but of the heel form, and that like sped her up, and she like just like slid across the screen in like 2 seconds and sliced the dude's arm off, and I'm like, oh, I love you.
She was so sick. This episode to me was like one of my favorites, just from like the atmosphere that they built on it with the soundtrack and everything. Soundtrack was done by Kevin Penkin, who did a lot of other big anime titles like Made in Abyss, Tower of God, and I thought like it gave such great atmosphere to this. I loved this episode in particular because of the imagination of it all. Like, yes, high heels, propulsion boots on her, but like just the use of the Force in like a traditionalist way rather than kind of the way Star Wars approaches it. Like, I thought that was like a cool extension of it, of how they can like use it to be in touch with the Earth and to feel the memories that happen. Like, I thought that was very cool. And so like for me, this one was a high tier episode because I just loved the atmosphere and the beauty of the place that they were in, and classic village story of like being oppressed, and everyone's doing what they think is best for their people, but no one's really happy about it. And this wanderer comes in to try to help balance it out, right?
Yep.
And I don't know. I just love this. I love this episode.
I love this. Is okay. So if I were to rate this episode, this is an S. This is my favorite episode. This is legitimately my favorite episode. And there are still bangers, but like this is my favorite one because exactly like you had mentioned, Star Wars is its best. Like, it's at its best so far when it's away from the Skywalker bloodline. When you explore the world that, like, example, I don't know how popular of an opinion this is, but I actually think Star Wars Rogue One is a very good movie. And I think that Star Wars Rogue One is amazing because finally when Darth Vader shows up at the end, you do feel, like, because, everybody's just a basic soldier. You really understand the fear the soldiers have, the troops have when Darth Vader shows up, right? So you really get to sit, like, what I'm trying to all tie it back to is that the world that Star Wars has is better outside of the Skywalker bloodline right now. I think it's more entertaining, it's more interesting, and this really capitalizes on that. And like, I really love like as you mentioned, I love the spiritual side of this. You really got to see the spiritual side of a Jedi, and that was dope.
Super cool. Yeah. Where does this? So this one is your favorite of all time. This one for me,
my favorite.
This one was like an A+, maybe S. It was like so close. And in reality, I just feel like I wanted more from this side of the universe, man. This one was so cool. But yeah, just to keep it moving, let's go on to the 5th episode. This one is called The Ninth Jedi. And this one is about a man named Juro the Margrave invites a bunch of Force wielders across the galaxy. This is like when Jedis have disappeared and whatnot. And it seems like this Juro guy is trying to assemble basically what is to be the new Jedi. And they bring him to this planet where a guy has created the newest lightsabers to ever been created with, the kyber crystals and whatnot. Oh. And then,
by the way, I feel like we should mention that this guy casually, I don't know, Jima, his English actor, you may know of him, Simu Liu. Shang-Chi.
Yes.
Oh, and then and then they had the Japanese actor who did Roy Mustang in Full Metal Alchemist.
Heck yes.
And I'm just like, what? What? This is so good. And so yeah, like, but voice acting aside, as you were.
Yeah. So, anyways, what ends up happening though is that some of the people who came by are actually people who are trying to squash the remaining Jedis, and we see this girl who is the daughter of the lightsaber crafter step up and become sort of a Jedi apprentice in her own right, and she uses her own like unawakened force powers to deal with them and help fend off the Jedi hunters. And this one. This one is actually, I think, maybe one of my favorites, if not my favorite. This one is like an S tier episode to me, and the reason for that is like I loved a lot of the spirit of this episode. And I know these things aren't canon, but I kind of wish they were. And I love the whole idea that like lightsabers are tempered by the people who wield them, and that's where they're, because I think in canon you like go out and you find a kyber crystal that attunes well to you, and that determines its color, and it's like where you went and felt you take your spiritual journey, you go and get it from the place. To an extent,
this is canon. Like this is canon. So.
But in this case, though, it's just like whoever wields the lightsaber, that's what turns that thing into a different color. And so, like, I thought that was really cool. And it was cool to see the representation of the girls sort of coming into a Jedi where her lightsaber was not actually colored yet. And then towards the end of it, she awakens. She's able to use the Force, and her lightsaber fully forms. And I thought that whole thing was really, really cool. I just thought the whole idea that, like, these people are trying to stamp out the rest of the Jedi, and like this is now the beginning of how Jedis come back into power and they start to assemble a force. Like the whole concept of it was just so Star Wars to me. And it was funny because I read some discussion threads about this and I was like, this is kind of what I wanted Rey to be like with Anakin in the original. Like this is the story that I wanted to see out of the sort of remnants of the Skywalker trilogies.
Yeah, like episode 7, 8, 9 should have been this.
It should have been this, right? And like I felt like this girl was like a better Rey than Rey in that regard, and like I really, really loved this one so much because I thought the storytelling was great, I thought the animation was fantastic, and it just felt truly like Star Wars DNA to me. And so yeah, this one just nailed it out of the park for me.
This episode's called the Ninth Jedi, so yeah, like and once again, this was done by the studio that Psycho Pass. For anime.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So, Production IG. And
Production IG.
So, this is actually my second favorite, and I think Xell nailed it right on the head there. I think the most beautiful thing from this was their use of like when the wielder would use the lightsaber, the color that would be attached to it. But the most beautiful part was that her lightsaber was not colored; it was gray and it was emptied. Right, because she was still young, so it shows you that like she could swing in any direction when it comes to the coloring. Right.
Yeah,
I thought that was beautiful, and most importantly, because like Xell has already nailed on the head with everything I love about this episode. This is what I wanted outside of episode 7, 8, 9. I was actually going to bring that up right then and there. That this is the Rey that we should have had by a landslide, but we got what we got. Okay, whatever. But. I think the cherry on top that made this episode that much more brilliant to me from I think was that they really showcased the importance of a lightsaber in this episode. This is I called this one the lightsaber episode. Like truly, it is about the lightsaber more than anything else to me, and it's so much so that like literally the last scene, because the meteor that they fight on with the light beam coming out of it. The camera flips upside down, and it's like a little on the nose, but like it's like, oh, it's a lightsaber. I see it, right? So this is like the episode about lightsabers, and I think that showed like this was a very artistically beautiful way of storytelling for Star Wars. So very good.
How you said this is your second favorite?
This is right behind episode. And
gotcha.
And this isn't like there's a huge gap between the two. They're like hairs apart.
Yeah, this one. I think this one is my number one.
A+ right under S, I guess. Like actually, yeah. If I gave the first, I can't give the first one an S because this is like my second favorite episode. So I'll give this S. And then episode 5 is like S+.
Okay. All right. all right, okay. This next episode now, Toby 1. This one is a goofy episode. This one was again very jarring, and this one follows the story of a android, or droid that was made by a sort of fallen Jedi who is out somewhere that no one knows, with no arms, and the story is how this droid develops to become a Jedi in its own right, essentially. And this one I think stands out because of its animation style. This one is like
so Astro Boy.
It's legitimately, you watch it and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was watching Astro Boy X Mega Man. This one is like legitimately just that. This one was kind of an awkward episode, not gonna lie. This one, not only just like stylistically, like whatever, I thought it was cute, but different, but like, I thought the storytelling in this one sort of suffered. This one almost needed like 3 episodes versus just like one short. And then I think for the average viewer, a lot of the references would kind of go over people's head. Because like, this one is so much a love letter to Astro Boy and sort of like old school anime. It's even the Toby 1 herself, itself, is voiced by Masako Nozawa, who is the original Dragon Ball Z voice actor for Goku, who is beloved in Japan. And so like this one to me was sort of a miss culturally, but also I thought like the story just didn't actually end up working as well as I wanted it to. However, I loved the animation style. I thought it was different, but I thought I was cool. But yeah, this one was not one of my favorites though, overall.
I think, I don't know. I mean, I felt like this was very much so just another anime than it was Star Wars. It felt very much so, like, how you have the Star Wars anime scale? The Star Wars scale is like not even on. And this is just straight up Astro Boy. Right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It is literally just Astro Boy. And I actually appreciate what they try to do with it. And I'm not saying that it was like bad by any means, but like it is very much so my least favorite. It is my this is the bottom for me. This is the bottom because this didn't feel like I would settle for like a reskin of Star Wars somewhere along the way, like maybe make it like about R2 instead of, but like the art style of literally like Toby 1. I keep wanting to call it Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Toby 1 Kenobi is a reskin of Astro Boy, like to the point where it's so distracting that I don't see it as a Star Wars at all. This doesn't look like Star Wars to me. It has some light topics from Star Wars. It has a lightsaber, the Force, sure. But that's about it. The fact that, they had Goku's original voice actress playing on this, that's pretty dope. And I appreciate that. But yeah, this is my F for the series.
Gotcha. Yeah, this one sits at the bottom for me as well.
Okay. So the music Rhapsody, one is Tatooine Rhapsody.
I like Tatooine Rhapsody better. Yeah, but like I think you nailed it. Is like this one really didn't carry the spirit of Star Wars to me, and yeah. So
all right,
let's keep moving on here. This next one is super dope. This one's called The Elder, and this one is animated by Studio Trigger. Oh yes, this is the second Trigger one. And this one could not be any more different from the other Trigger episode that they did, because this was not about the super flashy animation and super crazy, like over the top anime stuff. This one was a very kind of to the roots, just a story about a Jedi and his Padawan feeling there's something wrong. They sense the disturbance in the in the galaxy, and they go to it, and they find this guy who is a super powerful Sith hunter, essentially. Or he's a Sith. I guess he's not technically a Sith hunter, but he's classically that guy who's like, I just want to fight whoever's strong,
Yeah.
And like I thought this one was actually pretty cool and deserved a little more time too, because I really liked how the main characters reminded me a lot of kind of like, I guess, Anakin and Obi-Wan a little bit, or like one of those like sort of classic pairing.
It felt more like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. 100%. And it like definitely felt in that sort of vibe, and fighting this. I loved the antagonist of this episode. He's got these dual red katana lightsabers, and he is just the scariest looking old man I've ever seen. And the way they animated that fight was super dope. And so I love this one as like a little mini short story. It felt very like Star Wars, DNA at its core, and we got some cool looking anime lightsaber fights out of it. So I was pretty happy with this one.
What's funny about this one is this one felt like a lot like a classic old samurai movie.
Yeah.
Right. It was like very slow pace, kind of calm, and then there's the confrontation, which at the same time felt very calm for a fight. Right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like a bunch of movements. It wasn't flashy like the other Trigger fight. This is the polar opposite of that. It's like the flashiness is dialed down to 0, maybe like 0.5. And it's just a few swift strikes here and there and call it a day.
Yeah.
And
I thought the end, though, was so sick when he turns off his lightsaber, it goes through him, and then turns it on to stab him.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That just felt very traditional Japanese.
Yes.
Like that's like a finisher that you would see a samurai would do, right? It's essentially the one where they sneak past you and they jab backwards, right? So it felt very traditional when it comes to Japanese culture and film, cinema. But I actually felt like this episode was pretty weak to me. This would be my second least.
This one didn't really have that much inspiration, I guess.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
it just felt like filler. Like just fight, just make noise, do distract people, right? And this one, I didn't like that. And I mean, it also felt very low on the Star Wars scale. Not as low as the
interesting.
The Obi-Wan bot car show episode, but this one kind of felt a little low there. I mean, it just. Yeah, they have the reskin of that's a Jedi and his Padawan. And there's some lightsaber stuff, but honestly, it didn't feel that Star Wars to me. And it was fine. I don't hate it. By all of this whole run, by the way, everything here is still watchable. This just felt like it wasn't anywhere near the caliber of the other ones for me. And I think it was meant to be more subtle, so I get that. And as you know, I'm somebody that appreciates the flashy, the over the top. So naturally, this would kind of be somewhere towards the bottom.
Yeah, I think this one it was just lacking in an imagination compared to some of the other ones, which were I felt like they took the Star Wars concepts and really went wild with them. This one kind of just was a little bit by the books, and it was to me this was classic, just regular. It could have been a filler episode in any Star Wars animated series or whatever, or whatever. It just felt like it just existed. But I did enjoy some of the character designs and the fights and stuff, so I did like that part of it. I mean,
the voice acting in this, which is a bummer for me because I actually really like the voice actors in this. We have first off the teacher, the Jedi teacher. He's done stuff on Sailor Moon S. He's done Pokemon, Fullmetal Alchemist, and he's done Naruto. And then, of course, the English side is David Harbour. You know him as Red Guardian, Black Widow, and Jim Hopper in Stranger Things. So, I think the voice actors were super solid. It just didn't hit it for me.
Gotcha. So this one is second from the bottom for you?
Yes, second from the bottom for me.
Second from the bottom. I think this one was just a solid B tiers. B this one was
a D.
The D. This one is. This one was very middle of the pack for me. This one was not aggressively mad, but it just didn't do anything that made me super excited. Okay. And that's kind of it for that one. Next one we have Lop and Ocho, and this one was a funny one because this one is featuring a literal bunny girl.
You like Beastars? Yeah. I'm gonna just say that. You like Beastars? Are you?
Yeah.
This is your episode.
Yeah. So this one is about a rabbit alien who escapes slavery and comes into the hands of what I imagine as Gosetsu in Final Fantasy XIV.
Yep.
But basically is adopted into a traditional samurai household, and she grows up with them. There's a time skip, and then they get accosted by the Empire, and the Empire basically says hey, we're gonna take over, and the dad's no, how about not? But the his daughter is oh, maybe it's a good idea. And so now this bunny girl is sort of, her name's Lop, is sort of just stuck between the two. And then it ends up with a big dramatic battle at the end where Lop actually inherits the family sword from Gosetsu. That's not his name in the thing, but inherits the family sword, and then Lop and Ocho have a final confrontation. And this one was beautifully drawn. This one was so beautiful in my opinion. And I loved the bunny girl thing. Was kind of jarring, not gonna lie. I was just like, oh, okay, like sure, just random bunny girl. But I thought she was fun to watch, and like she got to do a lot of like cool attacks, and I loved the passing ritual of the family sword to Lop. That was probably one of my favorite scenes of it. And then some of the backgrounds that were painted in this one, like beautiful. In the final confrontation, chef's kiss. Like they were fighting on the starship, and then you see like cherry blossom trees in the background. And it is, it's gorgeous. So this one was one of my favorites, actually.
I really like this episode. This was a good one.
Yeah.
I think my thing here is like, I think the best thing about this episode is that it drives the theme of like, what is family, right? Is it family? And like, I think the closing point is that family isn't blood. And I love that. I love that. I love the way they did that. The way they storied, like the storytelling of this, and the bonds between the characters were amazing. And the way it ended felt so Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like this is like very much so on the like high on the Star Wars scale. Right?
I thought this one was so Star Wars, and like Empire shows up being very, very Empire.
Yeah, but it's also
like,
perfectly so anime. The way the villain is like, "Oh, won't you come help me?" It's like you're like a very over the top villain, like in every anime I've seen. I like that. You know what I mean? He's like,
I wanted Lop to be like, do you see this guy? Do you see how evil he looks?
You trust
like,
him?
why are you trust this guy?
He's essentially, like early Pegasus. Yugi boy, come help me correct
you don't
the
sense
universe.
Anything wrong with this guy.
like you got some poor judgments of like a character. Like
seriously.
But like this is pretty high up there. I would say this is a solid like B for me. This is a solid B for me.
Solid B.
This would be like fourth favorite, right behind like the third one, as I had mentioned, would be the Ninth Jedi.
Ninth Jedi, okay.
Yeah.
I think this one for me, this one's pretty high up there. I think this one's like an A+ for me. I think it's just below Ninth Jedi. This one is like in my top 3 for sure, though. Actually, loved this one.
Yeah. No, that is correct. This would be top 3 because below Ninth Jedi is that, because my ranking would be the Bridal, Ninth Jedi, and this is right under it, so that's third.
There it is.
Yeah, this is good. This is really good. This is really good.
So yeah, that one was definitely one of my favorite ones, and I just love the art so much. And now we'll talk about the last episode, which was called Akakiri, and this one's also done by Science Saru. And this one's an interesting one. You follow the story of basically a Jedi who is being constantly tempted with the dark side through his journey here. He's like kind of like acting as a bodyguard through this other person's journey as like a fallen princess. And this one was kind of cool too, because like I don't really know that many depictions in Star Wars canon where like you get to see the transformation of a Jedi into falling towards the dark side. And I thought this one did it so poetically well. However, I thought this episode was kind of awkward for some reason too. I couldn't really nail down why I felt that way about it, but maybe I'm kind of curious what your take on it.
Right, it's the last episode because the ordering
like this. Of it? Yeah, like this one, I felt like it shouldn't have been the thing to like take away from the series. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
I think I understand why it ended with this, because I feel like the one thing that they really did a good job with all of these so far is that it seems like they try to make it like a little more, like give Jedi a little more depth, like so Jedi aren't just like, cookie cutter Boy Scouts, right?
Yeah.
This shows you that like, being a Jedi, though you are one, it isn't always clear cut that you could just be so zen and, centered and ready, and selfless, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is where we start getting into like extended, like universe stuff, and there's like gray Jedis and stuff like that, and they seem to dance the line here, and a lot with this series, and this episode really does that. Now, I think that's the one thing about this episode and why it ends with this is because, I felt like it was the closing note was really to let you know that like sometimes you have to do what needs to be done. It isn't always easy, right? And I think that's the closing note. That's what made this feel like a good end. And my issue with this doesn't lie. It is slightly awkward because I felt like there should have been a bigger spectacle of a finale for the last episode. But my issue with it isn't that. My issue lies within the animation.
Okay.
This is the one, and like, you know what? I'm not surprised. I found out what the studio makes. This is the same studio that made Devilman Crybaby.
All right, this is over. This is fighting words.
Look. I've been vocal about me not liking the animation, about that like Devilman Crybaby. It's a little too weird for me, right? Like the lines look weird on all the characters, like the chins, the jaws. They look like partially chode, partially too pointy. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a very chody chin or not, right? And it's like pointy. And I felt like that. Just like, it felt just weird. It just looked weird. Too weird for me. And maybe it's not that it's like bad. I don't think it's bad per se. It's just that it's weird to me. And it's too weird for me to enjoy. And I can accept different, right? Like, I mean, they definitely experiment with what they can do with the art styles in this, like, set of like episodes. But this one, I just did not like. Story-wise, it is a bit slower. I wasn't too huge of a fan of, like, the whole opening part. I felt like a lot of it just... I'm going to be honest with you. It didn't get good until the fight. You kind of slowly see how they build, like, okay, you're going to have to make a moral choice. They're like, hey, we're building the princess. This lets you know there's going to be some kind of conflict with her. And they're slowly building it. And, it goes about it the way I thought it would. And, like... with the Jedi having to do what needs to be done, which is essentially pledge himself to the dark side to, solve the situation. And I like the ending. I like the ending a lot. I don't like everything before it.
Yeah, I mean, this one was, again, I think ends up being one of the weaker ones in my opinion, but I think like the animation style, I appreciate Science Saru because they are definitely of a different mold of animation style than your typical anime stuff, and I appreciate them about that. But I think visually this was kind of a miss. Like I think at the end when they go with like the full red and like I thought that stuff was kind of cool, but yeah, this one was kind of this one was just underwhelming to me. I think in the end, like I thought like I could see where they were going with it. I sort of felt the sort of how like what you were supposed to feel, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense, where like I understood that we're supposed to sort of feel his sort of tension with like, what do I do with these feelings that I have? And but it didn't quite hit the mark. So
I think if they moved the episodes around a little bit, because like all the bangers, the high octane stuff is like from the beginning to the midpoint, and then the last batch of episodes is just very slow.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So yeah, this one ends up being one of my least favorite ones too. This one is in my bottom 3. I think this one would be another like D tier.
Yeah, this is another D for me. D's nuts. So. And then I think that's fair though. But like overall, so now at the end of all of this, like wrapping up, we've kind of talked about all 9 episodes. I think my biggest concern, as I had mentioned earlier, is that I wish there was more of everything.
I agree.
If you had to choose one of the 9 episodes.
Ninth Jedi. Easily, Ninth Jedi. Oh my God, do I want more of that one. That one is just so beautifully done, in my opinion. I love that one.
I love the Ninth Jedi, but you know what's funny? I think of all of these, as much as I love The Village Bride, I think I want to see more of Tatooine Rhapsody. I want to follow them through the galaxy. And I want to see them become the best band. Maybe it's because it's a band. You might have heard of this anime already. It's back, right? Yeah, I'm biased. Of course, it's biased on that. But if it's not that one, I think it's Village Bride. Like just following F would be really cool to see her progression as a Jedi. and as she gets more in tune with the Force and whatnot. So, and like with how the spirituality of this, like that episode, I love that. I love everything about it. So, and I'd like to see things that would shake her emotions, which would happen farther in the anime. So, I think that's gonna be my pick. If I could pick anything, it didn't matter, and like with my heavy bias in it, it'd probably be Tatooine Rhapsody. But if I think one that would probably make the best for everyone's enjoyment, it'd either be between like Village Bride or Ninth Jedi. Those are very good. So overall, I hope we get more. Just like somehow, maybe if we don't continue to follow these specific characters, we get more stuff like this. I think to wrap it up, Star Wars is contained in this box where it's just like Luke. So
yes, so much about Luke Skywalker,
like Luke Skywalker, Vader.
Yeah.
If I could just say one thing as we wrap and get out of here, please, you don't have to follow the Skywalker storyline. Don't follow, like if you want to follow, maybe follow Mara Jade or something like that. But the thing here is, do more. That's why The Mandalorian was so good. Because Mandalorian... I haven't watched it yet.
Well,
you're going to love that. Because the thing is, The Mandalorian explores more of the world, which is why we love Star Wars. The world that it's in, the world building that they've done. I want more of that. I don't need to necessarily follow Luke.
I think that's the thing, is just the Star Wars universe has so many more stories to tell, and I think this was like the perfect exploration of that. So I unfortunately have to get going, Crim, but this was an awesome episode. This was an awesome series, and like you said, we want more. I think this was awesome, and really for any series out there, like I want more of this kind of exploration of things. Like I think some of these anime studios really hit on some really interesting ideas, and I just want more.
Okay. So and would you recommend this to somebody who doesn't watch Star Wars?
Seriously, even if you've never seen Star Wars, I think that this is awkward at the very end of this after we discussed all the way through. But like, even if you don't care about Star Wars whatsoever, I think these are great watches. And so because again, some of these like really have the only Star Wars thing about it is the wipe transition. So like, that's like it. So
okay.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, thanks y'all for watching. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought about Star Wars Visions, and maybe what other franchises would you love to see this sort of thing? Because I'm kind of curious what you guys think about, like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings anime, I don't know, D&D anime or something, Final Fantasy 14 anime.
Tweet at us too.
Anything like that. Yeah,
tweet at us.
Nissan Podcast.
Comments,
please let us know.
All of it. And then lastly, we're at 4 away from 400 subs. So maybe by the time this airs, we hit it. If we don't, help us get there.
Get us there. Spread the word. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to our little podcast here. And I know we've been very much anime centric, but we might talk about whatever we feel like soon. So stay tuned. It turns out though, I care a lot about anime, so we'll talk. Same. Don't be worried. We'll be talking.
Oh
more
yeah,
anime,
we all love anime.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week. All right. Bye, y'all.